They told us we were finally free, that we could love anyone, anywhere, at any time, that with one swipe, we could find our soulmate, our fantasy, or just a warm body for the night. But what they didn't say, what they never warned us about, was that this so-called freedom would become our most sophisticated prison. You see, modern dating didn't die. It was engineered to self-destruct. Not with a bang, but with the slow, mechanical click of swipes, likes, and ghostings. What was once a ritual of risk, vulnerability, and timing is now a sterile, gamified loop driven by the cold precision of algorithms and the dopamine systems they exploit. We didn't fall out of love, we outsourced it. There was a time when desire had weight, when meeting someone required friction, presence, timing, and courage, when you had to walk across a room, risk rejection, read real energy. But now, you log in, upload your best angles, curate your humor, resize your soul to fit into 500 characters. Then you wait, not for a person, but for a ping. And in that wait, something inside you unravels. Not because you're alone, but because you're no longer even real to yourself. Your data, what they called choice, was a lie. It was excess. And excess isn't freedom, it's paralysis. The more options we had, the less anyone mattered. This is the paradox of desire in the digital age. Everyone is available, and no one is reachable. You're not dating people. You're browsing possibilities. In 2000, psychologist Barry Schwartz introduced what he called the paradox of choice. The idea that too many options don't liberate us, they cripple us. In dating, this plays out brutally. Presented with endless profiles, we develop what psychologists call romantic FOMO. We don't connect, we compare. We don't commit, we calculate. We're not building bonds, we're optimizing outcomes. And in trying to maximize pleasure, we've obliterated meaning. But there's something darker, something less talked about, because it's uncomfortable. Algorithms are not neutral. Dating apps aren't about love, they're about engagement, about keeping you addicted. They are casinos of validation, and you are the gambler who always thinks the next spin will pay off. Every match, every ping, every flirtation, designed not to fulfill you, but to keep you hungry. That's the game. You're not the user. You're the product. You think you're choosing who to love, but the algorithm already chose for you. It fed you profiles based on your predicted responses, your past behaviors, your desirability rating. Yes, most apps rank you secretly. You're part of a system that evaluates your market value before you even get a chance to speak. Love, once a chaos of emotion and chemistry, is now a system of cold calculation. Affection has become data science, and while you sit there wondering why your messages go unanswered, why your matches ghost, why nothing feels real, remember this. The system is not broken. It's working exactly as intended. The dating app's goal is not to get you off the app. It's to keep you on it. You're not meant to find love. You're meant to chase it forever. Now imagine the emotional consequences of that. When people become pixels, when rejection is silent, when affection is gamified, what happens to your self-worth, your perception of others? We become addicted not to love, but to almost feeling it, to the simulation of intimacy, to the rush of being seen, then forgotten, again and again. We enter this game hoping to be chosen, but end up becoming choosers, so afraid of choosing wrong that we never truly choose at all. We scroll past soulmates, we sabotage connection in the name of optionality, and then we wonder why everything feels hollow. The truth is brutal. In the age of infinite access, commitment feels like a trap, and longing has been replaced by instant gratification. But gratification is not connection, it's a drug. And like all drugs, it needs increasing doses to feel anything. The first match felt magical. The first reply, electrifying. But now you're numb. And so is everyone else. That's why one-night stands don't feel like victories anymore. That's why even the beautiful people are exhausted. Because novelty has an expiration date, but connection doesn't. There's a lie they keep feeding us, that love today is just more evolved, that monogamy is outdated, that fluidity is freedom, that we've transcended jealousy, commitment, even romance. But no one talks about the rising rates of anxiety, the collective fatigue, the therapy bills, the creeping sense that we've become incredible performers of desire, but terrible experiencers of it. Robert Greene warned us in The Art of Seduction. Power in seduction lies not in possession, but in control of the other's mind. And what happens when that control is no longer personal, but technological? The game isn't seduction anymore, it's manipulation. You're being played, not by a person but by a system that understands your psychology better than you do. And the worst part? We've come to like it, to enjoy the chaos, the chase, the illusion. Because it gives us an excuse. If nothing's real, then we never really failed. If everyone's playing games, then vulnerability is suicide. We pretend we're hunters, but we're prey. We laugh at simps, mock romantics, and praise detachment. As if love were a weakness, as if connection were embarrassing. But deep down, you feel it. In those quiet nights after the notifications stop. In that ache when a conversation dies for no reason. In the shame of caring too much in a world built to punish it. This is not evolution. It's erosion. What's dying isn't just dating, it's the human capacity to bond. The ancient dance of seduction, once full of tension, nuance, and meaning, has been replaced by filters and timing hacks and open tabs. We're not seducing, we're scheduling. We're not risking, we're optimizing. We're not choosing people, we're auditioning them for a role in our highlight reel. And here's the contradiction. Never before have we had more ways to connect, and never have we felt more disconnected. We call it progress. But maybe it's a trade. We traded romance for efficiency, mystery for metrics, intimacy for impressions, and we lost something we can't name, but feel deeply in every almost love that never blooms. Modern dating didn't die because we changed. It died because we stopped believing that something raw, messy, unpredictable was still worth fighting for, because we let the algorithms seduce us better than we seduce each other. And now, here we are, surrounded by choices, paralyzed by fear, longing for connection, addicted to performance, hoping for magic, while swiping like machines. The game didn't kill love, but it drained it of blood. What's left is a replica, clean, shareable, and empty. But maybe, just maybe, that's why you're still watching this. Because a part of you remembers. A time when looking into someone's eyes meant something. When touch wasn't currency. When silence wasn't a red flag. When you didn't need a strategy, just presence. So if this chapter made you uncomfortable, good. Because that discomfort is a signal that you're still human beneath the performance. That you're not as numb as they hoped. The real question isn't if dating is dying. It's whether we'll die with it, or wake up before it's too late. And maybe, just maybe, we can still remember how to feel before we forget what love ever felt like. Now let's go deeper. Because if the system trained us to perform, to numb, to chase illusions, the next collapse wasn't technological, it was emotional. When the fear of being seen became greater than the desire to be loved. Let's talk about it. You'd think that with all this connection, all these tools, all these chances, we'd be closer, more open, more willing to love and be loved. But something strange happened on the way to freedom. We lost the courage to be seen. After the flood of options came the drought of sincerity. And while the algorithm made seduction scalable, it also made authenticity optional. Slowly, quietly, vulnerability became the new taboo. In a world obsessed with optimization, being real became the greatest risk of all. The result? Everyone is hiding, behind irony, behind confidence, behind curated personas. We don't date anymore, we audition. We don't speak, we strategize. Every message is filtered, every pause is rehearsed, every silence is weaponized. And the one thing no one dares to say is I care. Because if you care too soon, you're needy. If you open up too fast, you're weak. If you show emotion before it's been earned, you become a liability in someone else's dating journey. Vulnerability, once the sacred entry point to real intimacy, is now treated like a red flag. We are the most connected generation in history and the most emotionally unavailable. That's not a coincidence. That's a defense mechanism, and it's working. We don't get hurt anymore, not because we're stronger, but because we're colder. We've turned love into a transaction and made indifference a skill. There was a time when eye contact meant something. When a trembling voice revealed truth, when silence between two people wasn't awkward, it was sacred. But now, every human interaction is buried under the weight of the question, what do they really mean? The answer is simple. Nothing and everything. You've probably felt it. That hesitation before you say something kind. That internal debate, should I double text? Should I tell them I miss them? Should I show I care? And in the time you take to overthink, the moment dies. You don't say what you feel, you say what you think will protect you. And so does the other person. This isn't just a generational issue. It's psychological warfare. As Brené Brown, one of the few voices still defending vulnerability, puts it, vulnerability is the birthplace of love, belonging, joy, courage, empathy, and creativity. But she also warns that in a shame-based culture, vulnerability is dangerous because it threatens the illusion of control. And dating today is all about control. Control of perception, control of pacing, control of power. We're trained to never let them know where we stand, because the one who feels less wins. That's the game. That's the poison. We've turned relationships into tug-of-war matches where the only way to survive is to never pull too hard. But here's the twist no one talks about. While we hide to protect ourselves, we also crave to be seen. Desperately. We want someone to read between our silences, to break through our walls, to notice the truth behind our jokes. But when they try, what do? We flinch. We deflect. We run. Why? Because being seen means being exposed. And exposure in a culture of screenshots, ridicule, and performative detachment feels like death. We're not afraid of love. We're afraid of what love requires. Surrender. Love doesn't ask for strategy. It demands presence. It doesn't want a highlight reel. It wants the behind the scenes. It wants the insecurities, the doubts, the rawness. But we were told that those things made us less desirable. So we buried them. Deep. And now we don't know how to find them. You can feel it in the conversations that never go past surface level, in the flings that fade without closure, in the sex that feels more like mutual validation than mutual vulnerability. We touch each other's bodies, but never each other's souls, because to do that would require putting down the shield. And no one wants to be first. So everyone waits. He waits for her to show interest so he doesn't look desperate. She waits for him to prove he's not like the others. They both pretend not to care. They both lose. Again, we've become so emotionally risk-averse that we no longer feel safe expressing even basic affection. Compliments are suspicious. Complaints are threatening. Clarity is terrifying. Why? Because we've created a dating culture where the one who shows emotion first loses. That's the unwritten rule. Don't text first. Don't fall first. Don't love first. Keep it cool. Keep it casual. Keep it dead. And this deadness, it spreads. It spreads into relationships that never deepen, into marriages that feel like cohabitations, into sex that's more about performance than pleasure, into conversations that never touch truth, and eventually into self-perception. We become strangers to ourselves, afraid to feel because feeling has no template, no formula, no guarantee. But here's the contradiction. We admire vulnerability when it's packaged. We love TED Talks about shame. We cry during movies where the protagonist finally opens up. We praise celebrities who speak their truth. But when it happens in real life, in front of us, in someone's trembling voice or misty eyes, we freeze. We panic. We don't know how to hold it, because we've been taught that real emotion is messy. And messy doesn't fit into the feed. So we clean it, we sanitize it, we replace it with aesthetics, and slowly we lose the muscle of connection. You can see it most clearly in how we respond to rejection. A generation ago, rejection was a moment. Now it's a trigger. Because we don't just face rejection, we replay it, analyze it, broadcast it. And in doing so, we make it mean something about our worth. So we build walls. We call it standards, but it's fear. We say they weren't on my level, when really, we're terrified they saw too much. We pretend we ghosted because they bored us, when the truth is, they got too close. Real talk. Most people don't ghost because they feel nothing. They ghost because they felt something and didn't know what to do with it. Because feeling something today is more dangerous than feeling nothing. Nothing keeps you safe. Something makes you real. And being real is the one thing we don't know how to be anymore. The philosopher Søren Kierkegaard once wrote, "The most common form of despair is not being who you are." And in modern dating, we're living in that despair. We wear masks not out of malice, but survival. Because somewhere along the line, we were convinced that being ourselves wasn't enough, that honesty was naive, that vulnerability was weakness. But the truth? Vulnerability is seduction in its highest form. It's what separates the unforgettable from the forgettable. It's what makes someone stay after the high wears off. It's what turns chemistry into connection. But you can't fake it, you can't perform it. And that's why it's dying. Because performance is safer. And yet, there's a silent rebellion happening. You can feel it. in the tired eyes of the confident, in the longing behind the flirtation, in the loneliness inside the players. People are exhausted from pretending, starved for something real, not perfect real. We don't need more charm, we need more courage. The courage to say, I like you, you matter. I'm afraid, but I'm here. That kind of honesty, that's power. It's what makes you magnetic. Not because you're flawless, but because you're present, because you dared to show up without the armor. That's what people remember, not your pickup line, not your style, but the moment they saw your truth and felt safe to reveal theirs. But that kind of magic only happens when someone takes the first step. And maybe that someone has to be you, because the system isn't going to reward it. The world won't clap for it. But your soul, your future, your peace, they will. So let go of the scripts, forget the power plays, abandon the chase for constant control. And instead, ask better questions. Share the thing you're scared to say. Be the mirror, not the mask. Because if we don't reclaim vulnerability, dating won't just be extinct. We'll be strangers in our own hearts. And that's a kind of death worse than solitude. But there's another kind of death happening too. The death of balance. A new Cold War has emerged between men and women. Not of aggression, but of withdrawal. One side invisible, the other untouchable. And the battlefield? Attraction. They stopped seeing each other, not because they didn't want to, but because the rules changed and no one announced it. One by one, the men went silent, tired of being invisible, tired of trying and failing in a game where the odds were rigged before they even entered the room. And the women? They rose, higher, louder, more empowered, yet colder. Not because they wanted to be, but because being soft had cost them everything. This is not about war, it's about erosion. What we're witnessing now isn't a gender battle, it's a quiet implosion, a slow death of polarity. And at the center of this collapse are two ghosts, the irrelevant man and the untouchable woman. Let's start with him. He grew up being told to be kind, respectful, emotionally available. He was taught to suppress his aggression, shrink his dominance, and elevate his empathy. He was told that this would make him desirable. But when he stepped into the arena, no one looked his way. Because the men being chosen were kind. They were captivating, confident, unapologetically polarizing. The nice guy was respected, yes, but rarely desired. And over time, something inside him broke. Not in rage, but in quiet resignation. He learned to disappear. It didn't happen all at once. First, it was the unanswered messages. Then the unmatched profiles, the polite rejections, the passive indifference. Eventually, the silence became deafening. He started to wonder if he was defective, if he was unworthy. But the truth was more brutal. He was forgettable. In the age of performance, forgettable is fatal. So he withdrew. Not always physically, but psychologically. He numbed his longing. He replaced his hope with memes, his pain with podcasts, his desires with pixels. He no longer expected to be chosen. He just hoped not to be humiliated. Meanwhile, she became untouchable. Not because she wanted worship, but because she got tired of being hunted. Every message came with expectation. Every compliment hid an agenda. Every smile was interpreted as an invitation. She learned early that the price of being seen was being pursued. And the price of being pursued was being reduced. So she built walls. Elegant ones. She mastered the art of ambiguity. She became fluent in detachment. She learned how to test, how to filter, how to control. Not because she was cruel, but because she was protecting something fragile. Her peace. But over time, the defense became the identity. The fortress became the home. And now, even when someone pure approaches, she can't open the gate. She wants to. But the code has been forgotten. And the fear whispers louder than the longing. And so we arrive at the contradiction of the century. Men afraid to reach out, women afraid to let in, both craving connection, neither willing to risk first. It wasn't always like this.